Hi everyone, my name is Praveen Dupa. I'm an app dev solutions architect at Red Hat. I just want to run through a quick Ansible demo. Ansible is an automation tool and a language that can help you automate your provisioning and deployment or configuration um, processes across your infrastructure. So we'll do a separate session, kind of going into functionality and features of Ansible. But today I just want to give you a quick overview of how you can install Ansible and also how you can work around, work with it, right? To just maybe play with it and see if you can deploy a quick JBoss application server on your VMs using Ansible and maybe an application along with it. All right. So okay, let's get started. Let me show you first how to quickly install Ansible on one of my VM where I don't have it installed yet. So let me switch to my VM here. Okay, there you go. So this is my Fedora VM, Fedora 22, I guess. So okay, obviously, okay, before I actually go there, let me walk you through a couple of installations. So if you actually Google up, Ansible install, you're certainly going to end up on this page. There are two different nodes when you're installing Ansible. There is a control machine where Ansible gets installed, and there is also a managed node, the nodes that you're actually planning to manage with Ansible. So there's certain requirements both in control machine and managed node machine. Why? So the only okay, so let's look at the control machine requirements, right? So the control machine, obviously, where you're installing Ansible, it certainly requires Ansible to be installed, but that also requires Python 2.6, 2.7 to be installed. And then, as you see here, Windows is not supported on the control machine, so you have to use a Linux machine. Could be Fedora or Ubuntu or Mac OS X. But again, you need the Python 2.6, 2.6 or 2.7 installed. And then if you go down a little bit on the managed node, these are the nodes that you're trying to manage. So obviously, Ansible has to communicate with the managed nodes from a control machine to managed node. The way it communicates is using SSH. And so obviously you need that SSH to be installed on the managed node, and you would also need the Python 2.4 later. So that's just basically high level requirements when we are setting up. But let me so in the same page you actually can see how to install instructions as well. Here I'll be using the yum install on my Fedora machine. So you see the command right there. So you just take that and use it on your machine. So here I just use that command sudo yum install Ansible and just kick it off, and there you go. And just press yes, and it's going to take a couple of seconds to just get it installed. So you see that Ansible 2.1 being installed, and it's pretty much all set there. So that's pretty quick, and you can actually see Ansible version. There you go. So Ansible 2.1 is installed on my VM here, and then obviously it's pointing to Ansible config file. So that's the install part, right? So that's pretty quick. And let's just go. Let me just shut this VM off, and so I can actually show you the Ansible running on from my local laptop here. Let's get started where I stopped. I do have Ansible installed here as well, just like what we saw there on my VM. I just used it for to actually demonstrate. I didn't want to kind of play with my local install. So so now that we have Ansible installed, now then what are the next steps? So I did create a small for a directory here, Ansible workshop, so I can actually have all my stuff under one folder. That's all. I did clone a couple of very good projects from GitHub. One is Ansible examples, and the other one is Lightbulb. So if you go and Google up Ansible example, right? Sorry, GitHub. Ansible examples, right? So Ansible examples, you take that, or you also take a GitHub Lightbulb. Sorry. So those are two projects that you can actually clone it, and that's exactly what I did. So let's just go to Lightbulb quickly, and again going to workshops, and going to ad hoc commands. Solution. Okay, so here this is out there. I actually did add a Vagrant file here, which probably won't be there in the Lightbulb that you cloned, but you might have a Vagrant file right under the, yeah, there you go, there is one right at the top as well. So I did make some changes to make it a little simplified to test here, but obviously okay, so let's look at the Vagrant file, what I have here. So I'm just starting up 3 nodes, 3 Vagrant CentOS based nodes, and they will be used in our configuration file here. So let's do a Vagrant up here, right? So I'm just spinning up my Vagrant missions. So there is Vagrant 1, 2, 3. Let me just open another terminal so we can actually see the host file that I set up as my Vagrant missions spinning up, right? So if I look at the host that which is basically the reference to to your managed nodes, right? These Vagrant 1, 2, 3 are managed nodes, and my laptop where I'm running Ansible is basically the Ansible control mission, to refer back to where we kind of got started. So there is an SSH port that Vagrant is going to start. All those VMs are starting on my local host, so it's still going to be the IP is going to be the same, and then just the port is going to change, as you can actually see. Oh, there you go. It's just started loading up all of them, but there you go. You see, the first one, Vagrant 1, is starting up as a forwarded port of SSH port of 20 to 22, right? So I do have the same thing, right? So you just might want to make sure that stuff as the Vagrant gets started. All right, so that's the host file, and let's go to the Ansible config file here. And the Ansible config is, it can be there in multiple locations, but for simplicity's sake, let's just have an Ansible config file right inside your folder, so that way you know what you're going against, right? So you might want to specify the host file. So here is your reference to actually the file that we just saw, that you have multiple Vagrant images, and then the remote user for Vagrant, that'll be Vagrant, and then you're also setting up a private key file so you can actually SSH into it. And then host key checking is when you actually SSH into any of the remote host, the first thing that comes up to use looking at do you want to add it to the known hosts, right? So we're just setting that to false to make it easier here. So that's the Ansible. That's all I have from an Ansible config file standpoint. And so my Vagrant missions are still starting up here, and so that's still Vagrant 1 is just done, and Vagrant 2 is going up. So that might take a few more seconds to actually get up to my all my 3 missions. So so Vagrant 2 is 2200. There, so we can actually, let's do a quick thing, right? I know all of our missions are not ready yet, but why not we check it? Let's see if I can ping. So here the minus sim is actually stands for the module that you want to use, and all is basically, to all servers in your host file, right? The one we saw, the host file. So right now, obviously, we just only have Vagrant 1 and 2 up and running, and let's see if we can just ping those two, and then the third one should fail, right? So let's see if that works. Okay, maybe we'll just give it a few seconds until my VM gets started here. Oh, there you go. Not bad. Sorry about that delay, but no, you can see Vagrant 1 and 2 are success. Vagrant 3 is unreachable. Obviously, we're just starting out there. So if we can actually, no, let's give it one more second until Vagrant 3 gets started. And then we can actually do a ping again. There you go. We're done there. So we should have all the missions up and running. There you go. So we are successful in terms of SSHing and pinging all three Vagrant missions, right? So that's the first and a good sign. Now we are good to go. Pretty much now we can run any of our playbooks. So let's go quickly into deploy JBoss application server on these three missions, right? So shared Ansible examples, workshop, and Ansible examples. So in Ansible examples, if you come here, as you clone the Ansible examples GitHub project, then there's a JBoss standalone right inside it. So just move into the JBoss standalone project, and I do have these host files are just created by me, but you could just like we saw in the other place, right? So let's look at the Ansible config here just to make sure. Okay, so you could, I'm switching between the Vagrant and EC2 Amazon, but instances. But if you're using Vagrant, this is pretty much that, right? So you see the host file, Vagrant as a user, private key file, and that's all good there. And let's look at the host, what I have here. Okay, I have a different setup here for hosts. So I'm just gonna move. Let's see. Let me find a right. Okay, this is my server host configuration. So let me copy host backup to just rename as make a copy of host. Okay, so if I look at my host, that's all good. So now pretty much all I need to do is actually just run my playbook, and then I'll be all set. So that playbook is actually deploy application YAML. Okay, so deploy application YAML using all hosts, and it's also using sudo as true because it's trying to install JDK, and it needs an access to install JDK, so the sudo access. And then we can actually go through these roles, but it is going to set up a JBoss standalone, which is pretty much the install of the JDK, JBoss, and kind of start up the server. Next is the Java app. This is where we'll actually have to install two applications, which is a Ticket Monster app, and then there's a Hello World app that gets deployed. And as we run through this playbook in parallel, we can go and take a look at these roles and kind of have a quick walkthrough of it. That's that. Okay, so now I'm going to run this playbook, right? Okay, so Ansible playbook, and I want to run it on my host file, which is all my three Vagrant images, and I'm running the playbook deploy application YAML. So let's get started. There you go. So the first task is setting setup. So basically, it's just checking it. It can reach all those three Vagrant missions, and then the second task is it's trying to install the Java 1.7 and some basic other dependencies that would need before we can actually get started with JBoss with starting up JBoss and deploying your applications and so on. So yeah, I think that might take a little while, but when I do this, so I'll just make this a little smaller here, and hopefully, I don't know if you can keep this up. Okay, always on top. All right, so that's good. So that way we can actually see the rest of the stuff as our work going on there, right? Okay, so let me Google up Ansible example. GitHub Ansible examples. JBoss standalone. So JDK 1.7 is installed, and then the second thing is downloading JBoss from jboss.org. So changed means it's actually updating the stuff there, right? So there you go. It's extracting the JBoss zip file, and things are moving quickly, and adding a group and user. I mean, several other things. So let's go JBoss standalone, and as I said, deploy application YAML, right? So JBoss standalone is the first role. No, it's commented here, but I didn't comment in my playbook. And then JBoss app, Java app, right? So let's go roles. First thing is JBoss standalone. You go to tasks, and you look at your main YAML, and this is where all the tasks that we were looking at. Now install Java 1.7 with dependencies, download JBoss from the jboss.org, and extract archive, install directory. All the exact these tasks that we're looking at are actually happening from here, right? So it will actually finish that role, this JBoss standalone role first, and then it actually moves on to the next role, which is basically the Java app. Again, in the Java app, it's pretty much to deploy the applications that we're talking about. JBoss Hello World War, it moves into temp and then moves into deployment file, right? And pretty much the same thing as Ticket Monster War. So now that our playbook is completed, really now we have installed the 3 Vagrant images we started up. We pretty much installed JDK, JBoss, and we started up the JBoss, and we actually copied the var files, our applications on it, and we deployed it and restarted the JBoss. So those are quite a few things, and then we just did it like with a few simple commands, right? So let's actually now is the time to test it, right? So let me just take this off of being it on the top, but we know from our host file. Let's see. Okay, vi host. So we're basically going against localhost and queue that Vagrant file, so that way I can kind of refer to. But anyway, let me just quickly bring that up so that way it's working. There you go. That's my 8080 on. This is not running on my local, but certainly I'm running on. I'll show you the rest of the instances, but I just want to bring it up. Ticket Monster, so that it's working, right? Okay, there you go. Ticket Monster is working on localhost and 8080. And then I think the other app that got deployed is Hello World. So okay, great. So okay, now that we need to make sure these are running on 3 different Vagrant images, right? Where is my Vagrant image? They're here. Okay. Yeah, exactly. This is what I want. So this is where we start our Vagrant images. So vi Vagrant file. Here you go. So these are these 3 Vagrant images. So if you look at, I'm actually forwarding the ports on the first one, which is basically on 8080, and the second one is going to be 8081 on the host. That means on my laptop, if I hit 8081, it should be forwarded to the 8080 on the second Vagrant permission. Similarly to the third one, 8082 should be taking to the third Vagrant mission. So let's me test that, right? So if I hit same thing, 8081, and my ticket monster app on my Vagrant 2 image. There you go. And then the 8082 is my ticket monster app on my third Vagrant image. So see that? So now we have 3 different VMs actually running JBoss and deployed with the ticket monster and Hello World application. So that's the power of Ansible, right? I mean, that is where we're just simply getting started, but kind of makes interesting from a even from a middleware deployment standpoint. The other thing that I wanted to show you is actually, so Ansible is great just from a command line standpoint, but when you're actually growing big and as you have multiple users using the system and you're deploying several different servers, there's several other things come into picture. How are you going to manage all these deployments and still have the role-based access control and be able to look at the job, be able to schedule the jobs and also look at all the logs in a central location and all that, right? I mean, there's several other requirements. So Ansible Tower is the solution for that, right? So Ansible Tower makes the experience with Ansible much more simplified. So that's Ansible Tower. You can certainly read up, and there's nice user interface. What we're going to do is actually spin up Ansible Tower as well here right now. So let's go, and I do have a VM, a Vagrant VM that's actually a VirtualBox based VM installed in my on my laptop here. So let me check where I am here. So you can actually download the VM right from this website, Ansible Tower website, and I just created a Tower folder and I put in my Vagrant file right there, right? So so you can look at the Vagrant file. It's certainly pointing to that box, and also I'm going to do a Vagrant up on the Tower. Okay, so that's starting up Ansible Tower. You can actually see right here. So I have my, so these are my other Vagrant images that I got them started before. So let me actually stop them so I can actually save some CPU resources. Okay, so I'm stopping my local Vagrant images, and I'm actually turning. I started up the Tower, right? So what I'm going to do with this now is actually once my Ansible Tower starts up, so log on to Ansible Tower and actually deploy a JBoss application on the Amazon EC2 instances. So there you go. Our Tower is started up, and the rest of our Vagrant images are down. That's great now. So one way to just look at Vagrant, the Tower credentials is just a Vagrant SSH, and it'll actually it'll actually give you the URL to log into your local Vagrant Ansible Tower URL, and including your username and password as well. So just click on that and go to the Ansible Tower homepage and use your admin as username and password that I just got it copied from there. So that's my Ansible Tower. I'm inside my Ansible Tower. So I can walk you through some of this stuff, but let me just actually get my EC2 instance started, right? So this is an Amazon Linux EC2 instance, T2 Micro, Ist1A, and there are a few things that we need to set it up when we actually try to deploy onto the CC instance from Ansible Tower. I'll walk you through that stuff. But okay, so right now it is just stopped, and I'm going to now start this instance. Yes, go ahead and start. And right, Okay, so we'll give that a couple of minutes to get started. But again, I used that I do have an Ansible key pair here, which I'm using in my Ansible Tower mission to actually be able to SSH onto the EC2 machine that I have. Right, so let's go back to the instances here. Okay, so I do have the IP, the public IP already here. Maybe I can do a quick check on if I'm able to ping to that. There you go, that's all good. Okay, and right, so let's go to the Ansible Tower now. So in the Ansible Tower, obviously, there are several. You can be working with multiple different projects, with various teams. So you can, create projects, and these projects, for example, I'm actually looking at JBoss deployment as a project, right? If you look at this project, this is the same exact project that I actually cloned locally. The Ansible example is Git. So Ansible Tower can actually link to the Git, from itself, right? So it basically clones the project right inside it. And just give it a name, description, and organization. Certainly, several ways to manage it. And then this is the source control, SCM. So there are several different options that you can actually choose, Git, Subversion, so on, right? One of the most popular ones. So the moment you actually clone, it's going to sync up and get this ready to work with. So that's the project section. The inventory section is basically to deal with the host file that we were just been working with, right? So in the previous scenario, we just were using a Vagrant image, a list of Vagrant images to actually deploy. So that's the inventory. In this case, you could actually use a local Vagrant image or an EC2 inventory. So I did set up an EC2 inventory, right? So I created a group. And I had, the one cool thing is actually Ansible Tower can actually scan your EC2 account and then actually import all the hosts that are out there under your account. There's several ways to do it. I mean, you can use it by the tags and all, but let me show you that a little bit here. Let me just clean up my earlier one. So now that I have an EC2 group, let's see here. Okay, edit. Right, so this is, I created an inventory called EC2 group. I'm using my AWS credentials, and I'll walk you through that. There are all those credentials that you can create from your settings section. But I'm here in this case, I'm using AWS credentials, and obviously the source is Amazon EC2. But as you can see, there are several different options that you can pick and choose from. But you choose EC2, you choose and you put in your AWS credentials. And that's pretty much it, what I have here, right? So now once you're done, you just basically do a sync, right? So now I'm syncing. That means it should be actually, logging on to my EC2 account and, identifying this particular server and, bringing this one into the Ansible Tower locally. So there you go. I think it's pretty much done. Okay, inventory completed. So let's take a look at our EC2 group here now. So there you go. See, that's my EC2 instance, right? 38 at the end. 38. So that's my host, and it's imported, and it's ready to be go, right? I mean, if you have multiple servers, obviously they're going to be all part of this group. And when you deploy, just like we saw with the Vagrant images, whatever the job you run, it's going to be deployed on all of them. That's inventories. And then job templates are obviously, we can, these job templates are the ones that are, the playbooks that we were running. They're like the one that we did deploy application, JBoss. So similarly, I have this job template created here. Let's take a look. So obviously, when you're looking at a job template, give it a name and the type of the job, whether you want to just run it or maybe do a quick check whether it can do it successfully, go through for perform that operation. That's the checking part, and other options. And inventory that you want to use for this job is EC2 inventory. That means that one mission that where we don't have any JBoss deployed yet, right? So, and then the project, we just cloned the Ansible examples, and the playbook, this is what we're going to be running, deploy application. Remember, we just use this from our local mission, from our local thing. And then using the EC2 instance credentials and all that. Okay, so that's the job, right? So, and then the next one is the jobs itself, right? So we just, depending upon what type of job, obviously all of those jobs are listed here. So I've been running several different jobs, obviously some failed, some successful. The red and green show that. So that's jobs. So basically you just have a complete list of jobs, and you can click on any of them. You can actually go see what happened. You have a complete log of this, of that particular job, and who ran it, launched by what time, and you can set up the verbosity and several different things. So it gives a centralized log view. So that's jobs. And let me also walk you through some of the stuff from a setting standpoint. This is where you're setting up your role-based access control. You can create your users and teams, right? Several different ways, and you can configure with your LDAP. You can integrate with your LDAP as well. But one of the important one is, again, the credentials that we were looking at along with our jobs. So there's certainly, when you're syncing up with AWS, I used AWS credentials, which is, that's the stuff there. And then EC2 credential, EC2 instance credentials. This is to actually SSH into that particular VM that we spun up. Right. So I'm using EC2 user, and there's an encrypted private key there. And so just set up your credentials from here, and then just use it back into your job templates. So let's actually run this. One thing I'm going to tell you is this is not going to succeed because of, I should have actually cloned my, if I show you when I cloned my GitHub Ansible examples. I should have actually made a branch of this and changed. You know what? Maybe I can. Okay, let me. Okay, yeah. If I just run deploy application here, since this line is commented, I was thinking, I mean, it would not be able to deploy Java app. So let's do this. Let's actually run it first. Let it see that we fail, and then we try to make it work, right? So deploy JBoss to EC2 instances. As we saw, it's using the EC2 inventory. We're trying to run deploy application YAML, right? This is the one we saw in here. The JBoss standalone is actually commented, right? So obviously that's why JBoss is not deployed, and it's going to straight go ahead and try to deploy Java application, and then obviously it's going to fail. And we'll come back and see how we can fix that. And so let me just get the job started. So you just go and click the job here. There you go. And the job is get about to start, and it's pending, but it's going to get started and running state. It is in running state. So all the log that we saw. And when you're running in the command line is all going to show up here. So actually I'm running with a verbosity of 4, so that's why I see a lot of log here. You can always change that when you're running. But the first thing is you can see the setup, establishing the SSH connection. And okay, so here is what it is. It hasn't actually installed JBoss, but it's trying to run the Java app role as I showed you. And obviously it's going to fail. Looks like I have, okay, that's the reason it worked now, because I already ran this playbook on this particular VM last night. So that's why now it doesn't have that problem anymore. See, that's a good thing. And I ran that from my local. So anyway, it's successful. So that means our JBoss should have been deployed on this at 8080. Our Ticketmonster application is actually should be accessible publicly right now. I mean, because this is a public IP. 8080, that's a JBoss app server. Ticketmonster. There you go. That's perfect. So my Ticketmonster app running and deployed by the Ansible, and so that's Ticketmonster and Hello World. There you go. So all good. So that's Ansible power deploying an application on Amazon EC2 instances, a JBoss application. But just feel free to give it a shot. Obviously, it's pretty simple and nice to work with. I mean, there will be I'll be working on another separate video to actually walk through several of the features and functionality of Ansible that we can talk about. All right, thank you very much.